live from our studios here on the 10th Avenue Extension Grid Estate. My name is El Samuels. First, the headlines.
Works and Housing Minister unveils flood mitigation plan ahead of the rainy season. President Mahama to lead Ghana's delegation to the UN Special Section on Respiratory Justice. And business, we've moved from falling into the abyss to phase of cautious rebuilding. Tegbe. On the international front, the Earth's climate is further out of balance than any time in record history, the UN Weather Agency has warned.
The news is also live on our social media handles MBN360. The Minister for Works and Housing Water Resources, Kenneth Gilbert Adjei, has assured Parliament of intensified efforts to tackle flooding across the country as the rainy season approaches.
Appearing before the Government Assurance Committee at Parliament House, the Minister outlined ongoing and planned intervention aimed at strengthening infrastructure and protecting flood-prone communities. Beyond flood control, Mr. Adjei highlighted broader efforts to address housing and water challenges, noting that new housing projects are planned for the Volta region alongside affordable housing units in the Ashanti region as part of a nationwide expansion of Drive. On a styled Saglemi housing project, the minister disclosed that a strategic investor has been skilled to revive the initiative, which has already seen an investment of $200 million. He also acknowledged challenges in water supply, particularly high turbidity levels affecting distribution, and assured that steps are being taken to resolve the issue, including the feasibility studies at the Tamale Water Project. Members of the committee, however, urged the ministry to adopt more structural engagement and mechanisms to ensure timely delivery of its commitment as pressure mounts to address critical infrastructure needs ahead of the rains.
A student of the Ghana School of Law has died after suffering medical emergency during lectures, the Student Representative Council, SRC, has confirmed.
In a statement issued on Monday, March 23rd, SRC President Nana Opokuwari said the incident occurred on Sunday, March 21st during academic section. According to the SRC, the student was assisted by colleagues and rushed to the Ridge Hospital where he died despite effort by both student and medical personnel. The council expressed condolences to the bereaved families, friends and the wider student body, describing the incident as a painful loss. It also acknowledged steps taken by school authorities to provide counseling and psychological support to affected students. However, the SRC raised concerns over the reports that the school's clinic may not have been accessible at the time of emergency. The SRC further disclosed that it has called for an urgent meeting with management to establish the facts surrounding the incident and to push for reforms. This includes improved access to on-campus medical care, clearer emergencies response protocols, and increased investment in student health infrastructure. An eyewitness believed to be a medical doctor and a colleague of the deceased has provided a detailed account of the student's final moment, describing a sudden deterioration in his condition during classes. According to the account, the student had earlier expressed concern about high blood pressure, but remained responsive and even participated in class discussion before his condition worsened.
The President, John Dramani Mahama, will depart Accra today, Monday, for an official visit to the United States, where he will lead Ghana's delegation to a high-level section on the reparation justice at the United Nations.
The visit will take him to New York and Pennsylvania and will focus on addressing historical injustice linked to the transatlantic slave trade and honoring its victims. At the UN headquarters on Tuesday, the president is expected to convey and deliver the keynote address at a high-level special event on reparatory justice. The event, named Reparatory Justice for Trafficking of Enslaved Africans and Radicalized Chattel Enslavement of Africans, will assemble world leaders and dignitaries to deliberate on path and towards justice. According to the presidential spokesperson, Felix Kwakye Fosu, the gathering represents a critical opportunity for global community to confront and address one of the gravest injustices in human history. On Wednesday, the president will address the United Nations General Assembly as part of an event marking the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. He is expected to present Ghana's position, which has been adopted by the United African Union, calling for the formal recognition of the transatlantic slave trade and radicalized chattel enslavement as a grievous crime against humanity.
The National Communications Authority has announced new measures to strengthen the SIM re-registration process, including the introduction of one-time password OTP verification to confirm user content.
The initiative forms part of a broader effort by the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation and the NCA to roll out another nationwide SIM registration exercise aimed at tracking fraud and also identifying misuse. Under the new system, individuals will be required to authorize the registration of any additional SIM cards linked to the identification details through OTP sent directly to them. This is expected to prevent unauthorized use of personal information, which has been a major concern in previous exercise. Authorities says the move will enhance transparency and accountability by ensuring that all registrations are explicitly approved by the rightful owners of identification documents. The NCA has further advised the public to remain vigilant and protect their personal data, particularly as preparation intensifies for the upcoming registration exercise.
A senior staff engineer at Google Research, Johnson Hickson, has assured workers and job seekers that artificial intelligence, AI, will not replace human roles in the near future, but will rather enhance productivity and support their work.
Speaking at an AI training organized by the United States Embassy in Accra, Mr. Haki encouraged participants to embrace technology and use it to their advantage. Use it productively for your own benefit. Let it serve you. Do not be afraid. Use it, he advised. The training held under the Regional AI Speaker Series of public engagement brought together participants from Ghana, Liberia, and Nigeria, including journalists, digital strategists, artists, architects, social workers, and content creators. Addressing concerns about job losses, Mr. Haki explained that individuals who are skilled in using AI tools are more likely to benefit from emerging opportunities. He noted that technology is designed to complement human effort rather than replace it. Providing historical context, he said AI dates back to the 1950s, evolving over time into a powerful tool now used in areas such as business development, academic writing, and information retrieval. Despite the advancement, he stressed that the AI does not possess true learning ability and depends on data, making human intelligence indispensable.
And that takes us to our first break for the Prime News, so we'll be back with business.
So there's some local fast food. Mama, me again. Let's go yale. Me call you mum. Who hear me? Me and sent my friend doctor when I'm crossing over. Share that for me. See what we saw any. She has malaria. Hey, malaria. Oh, what they say? What the router? Me copy the absence. A draw in a friend router mixer. Yeah, come on, let it draw. And running some got trap and the draw crew abaso body assay. Wabo Ruta mixture abaso. Ruta natural products in one Ruta mixture. Yeah, you could see a treat. Ruta tonic and the Ruta life for a who a feeling like the bunny, a feeling per diem. Let's support the immune system. Ruta de Obiasia, FDA, I did drinking crap to your two.
Welcome back from break. You're still live on Prime News, coming to you live from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension. Now we turn our attention to the business desk, where the former Finance Minister Seth Terkper says Ghana's economy is gradually emerging from a period of deep distress, but warns that recovery remains fragile and must be handled with caution.
Government economics advisor pointed to the difficult fiscal condition inherited by the current administration and the constraint imposed by the International Monetary Fund program. He argued that those conditions significantly limited the government ability to drive investment into the real sectors, especially in its early months in office. Mr. Terkper noted that signs of recovery are beginning to emerge, particularly with renewed access to financial markets. He maintained that the country has moved past the most dangerous phases of crisis, but stressed the need for discipline as recovery gathers pace.
The institutions that we mentioned, right, the World Bank, the IMF, that help during crisis, right? You talk about it, that's why I'm using them as examples. They help us during crisis. They were not set up to help Africa. At the time they were set up, Bretton Woods, the substantive flows went to the countries that were engaged in a war. Germany and the rest, which were devastated. Those are the first financing, right? And today they don't go to those institutions to stabilize.
In other business story, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, FABAG, has expressed strong concern over the ongoing tomatoes supply crisis following Burkina Faso's ban on tomatoes exports to Ghana.
In a press release, FABAG described the situation as a clear indication of NES's poor planning and policy failures within Ghana's agriculture sector. The association said Ghana's continual reliance on imports for basic commodity like tomatoes is unacceptable. Despite the country's vast agricultural resources, FABAG added, if the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is unable to coordinate nationwide tomatoes production within the next 2 to 3 months, the government should consider restructuring it into a more production-focused institution with clear target and accountability. Stressing that with proper planning and irrigation, Ghana could produce commodity multiple times a year. It maintained that the country has the capacity to address the current shortage within a short period if the right measures are implemented.
And those are the stories on the business desk. We're turning our attention on a quick break. When we come back, we bring you some entertainment stories.
Hi, welcome to Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth. Our serene environment and cozy rooms provides a pleasant stay. To book a room with us, call 055-5940-103 and 0241-972076. Locate us at Teshinungwa Estate, number 8 Coconut Street, directly behind A-Life Supermarket. Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth.
Welcome back. You're still live from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension. It's now time to bring you the entertainment stories on Chuck Norris, the veteran martial art world champion, action hero, and early 2000 internet meme inspiration whose rugged demeanor was immortalized on a hit show, Walker Texas Ranger, has died. He was 86.
Norris had an unidentified medical emergency in Hawaii on Thursday, according to news report. The family thanked fans their prayers during his hospitalization. The ultimate tough guy, Norris' first memorable acting role as a Bruce Lee formidable opponent in 1972 film The Way of the Dragon, before he landed his first leading role 5 years later as a truck driver searching for his missing brother in Breaker Breaker. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Norris made a name for himself as a rugged action hero in movies like The Delta Force, making his place in pop culture with an always ironic countenance and lines like "My kind of trouble doesn't take vacation."
And I was a ragged man. May his soul rest in peace. We'll go for a break. When we return, we'll bring you sports. Welcome back. On the sports front, the President John Dramani Mahama has urged stakeholders to ensure consistency and transparency in the release of expenditure on sports events.
He made a call whilst addressing a fundraising event for the World Cup Fund as Ghana's Black Star gear up for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in June. Meanwhile, the Deputy Finance Minister, Thomas Nyako Ampem, has described Ghana's participation in the 2026 FIFA World Cup as key opportunity to promote the country on a global stage. He made a remark on the sidelines of a fundraising event for the World Cup, which was attended by the President John Dramani Mahama. Ghana has secured qualification for this year's World Cup and will compete at Group L alongside England, Panama, and Croatia.
Last year, we made a commitment that sports management in Ghana will be guided by transparency and accountability. In my 2025 State of the Nation address, I announced that the national football budget will be disclosed to the public, a first in our history. Why? Because Ghanaians have the right to know how their resources are being utilized, and corporate partners deserve transparency before they will agree to invest. I commend the Minister for Sports and Recreation for maintaining this standard, but we need to be more consistent in releasing information about how much we spend as a country on our sporting activities. This transparency extends to a difficult but responsible decision we made not to allocate public funds for large-scale travel for supporters to follow our teams abroad. This year's World Cup particularly presents unique challenges in sports mobilization. The tournament is hosted by 3 countries, Canada, Mexico, and the United States, spanning from Central America to North America, with venues in distant cities that can only be reached mainly by air. We understand the passion of our supporters, we feel it too. But at a time when we're investing heavily in job creation through the Big Push program, the 24-hour economy initiative, education, agriculture, and healthcare, we must prioritize national development over discretionary spending. In consonance with the recommendations of the Jamepe Committee report, the government has no plans to allocate public funds for supporters to travel to Canada, the United States, or Mexico to watch the Black Stars or attend the World Cup. The logistical cost of flying, accommodating, and feeding even just 200 supporters to the tournament is staggering. The estimated cost of sponsoring just 200 supporters, that is flights, accommodation, tickets, transportation, and feeding, is estimated at almost $2 million. Therefore, any mobilization of supporters to attend the World Cup must be funded by the private sector. And that's why we called you here.
The Black Star participation in the FIFA World Cup. Remember, the Black Stars are taking on international friendly on the 27th against Austria in Vienna, and then 30th in Stuttgart against Germany. We go for a break. When we come back, we'll bring you some international news stories. Welcome back. On the international front, the Earth climate is further out of balance than any time in record history, the United Nations Weather Agency has warned.
The World Meteorological Organization says that our planet is gaining much more heat energy than it can release, given by emission of warming gases such as carbon dioxide. This record energy imbalance heated the ocean to new height last year and continued to melt our planet's ice caps. And scientists fear that a natural warming phase called El Nino, expected to begin later this year, could soon bring further heat records. In response to the report, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres reiterated its call for countries to move away from fossil fuel to renewable energy to deliver climate security, energy security, and national security. The last 11 years were the Earth's 11 warmest year in record, stretching back to 1850. The World Meteorological Organization, WMO, says in 2025, global average air temperatures were about 1.43 Celsius above those of the pre-industrial times, before humans started burning large amounts of fossil fuel. A temporary cooling from the natural La Nina weather pattern meant that 2025 was not quite as hot as 2024, which was boosted by the opposite El Nino phase.
And as the world celebrates the World Meteorological Day, we wish that people will be able to stop the burning for fossil fuel. In African story, former Kenyan Foreign Minister Raphael Tuju has resurfaced a day after his reported disappearance, which has led to fears he may have been abducted.
Speaking to local Citizen TV station on Monday afternoon, he said he had gone into hiding after being followed by an unmarked vehicle. He said that on realizing he was being trailed, he has to branch off onto a road where it would be more difficult to follow him. Once he has shaken off the other vehicle, he has then abandoned his car, which they could have been looking for. He mentioned other Kenyans who has been abducted and killed in the past, explaining that this was why he had not sought police help and instead went into hiding. Earlier, the police has said they were investigating his reported disappearance and appealed to the public for information. His family said the ex-minister and his driver had gone missing as they were on their way to an evening radio interview. Police said the vehicle was found abandoned with its hazard light on along a road in Kiran, an unmarked suburb of the capital Nairobi. They said they could not reach him as his phone was switched off. The former minister, who serves in several government roles, has been embroidering a long-running legal battle contesting auction and takeover of his properties in Nairobi of an unsettled bank loan.
And from the African story, that brings us to the end of this evening in Prime News, live and direct from our studios here on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. The news was also live across our social media handle. And for more news, you can always log on to MBN 360. But before we take leave of you, let's take a second look at the stories making headlines.
Works and Housing Minister unveils flood mitigation plan ahead of the rainy season. President Mahama to lead Ghana's delegation to the UN Special Section on Respiratory Justice. In business, we've moved from falling into the abyss to phase of cautious rebuilding. Tegbe. On the international front, the Earth's climate is further out of balance than any time in record history, the UN Weather Agency has warned.
For more news, log on to MBN 360. Make a date, same time tomorrow. We'll be back with more on the Prime News. My name is El Samuels. Do have a good evening.